All right. Well, hey, first and foremost, my mic is live now, Illinois. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through a recruiting return live with Eli and Raquel. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, Raquel, Eli, thank you so much for sitting with me this evening. And so a little bit of background history. We did an interview, Eli, last week, and then you came to the meeting on Tuesday. And so now this would be our recruiting return for a newly licensed person. And so first and foremost, do you have any questions for me before we get started?
Basically about the money.
Okay, money, that's good. Anything else so far?
How do I get paid?
Okay, so money, how you get paid, okay. What about training?
Yeah, I mean,
Schedule, you said how many hours? Okay, and then what about licensing, right? You gotta be licensed to be in our business, thankfully, right? Yeah. Okay, perfect. And so what we're gonna do this evening, I'm gonna go through the presentation live with you guys, and we're gonna go through all of the questions that you asked. I'm also gonna go through it live with this presentation right up here in front of the group, assuming my clicker's gonna work. Needing a clicker. Okay.
We can run this from active drive.
Yeah, okay, go next. Okay. So one of the first things that we're going to talk about, Eli, is licensing. And because you had asked, you know, how exactly you get paid and how much money you get paid. And kind of the start to that process is you obviously, for most of the things that we do, you have to have a license. Now, there are some things that you can get paid on that don't require a license. We're going to talk a little bit about that here shortly when we go over compensation. But if you see right here, it says, as you earn your licenses, you are increasing your expertise and knowledge, thus making yourself more valuable to your clients. We call this increasing your value gap. So to better assist your clients, you are going to want to obtain these licenses. Okay, and so in order to get fully licensed, you know, to be able to do what it is that we do for families, it costs a little bit of money. It's about $1,200 to $1,500 out of pocket. Depending on, you know, when during the year you do it and so on and so forth. Thankfully, actually, Primerica covers the majority of those costs. And so because of that, that's one of the main reasons why, you know, we license so many more people than the rest of the companies in the industry. But they do ask that you have a little bit of skin in the game. And so you are going to have to pay a licensing deposit. That licensing deposit covers your study material, your 2-day pre-licensing class, the background check, and all of those things. So that cost is $99 one-time fee, and then it's $24 a month for what's called POL. That's our Primerica online subscription. It's not a contract or anything like that. That's $25 a month, not a requirement, but we do, you know, require you to buy the first month as part of your licensing deposit. Does that make sense? Yeah. Perfect. And so that licensing deposit is going to cover your life insurance producer's license, and then it's also going to cover, you can qualify to get your securities and your investment license paid for by the company. And so that life insurance producer's test is 100 questions, multiple choice. You got to get a 70. Okay, so all of us C students, right, we're good to go, right? I always joke around, if you get a 71, you study too much, okay? And so any questions on any of that? Okay, awesome. And then a little bit of information about, it says loan originator certification down here. We hadn't talked too much about this with you yet, Eli, but our company actually just partnered up with Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage. And so we're going to be able to offer all of the loans that Rocket Mortgage offers through our company. And the beautiful thing about that is that you, as an example, can get your mortgage originator's license, and then you can make some real estate agent friends, and you can actually get paid every time they sell or buy a house for a client because you're helping originate those loans. Very special, yeah. So any questions on any of that so far? Okay, perfect. So we covered licensing. Next slide. Oh, whoops. Now it wants to work. Okay, you got to go back. Yeah, perfect. So our class structure. So there's really two types of kind of learning that we do, right? There's on-the-job training, right? And do you know what on-the-job training is?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's hands-on, right? It's kind of how training at any other job works, right? They put you in front of somebody that's doing the job that you're going to do, right? And you watch them do it. It's on-the-job training, right? And the other kind of learning is classroom training. right? And so this is kind of what we're doing right now is a little bit of classroom training. And we like to say, well, let me ask you this. Which do you think is more effective, classroom training or on the job? Hands-on, on the job, right? Yeah, we like to say that 1 hour of on-the-job training is equivalent to about 10 hours in the class. So the focal point of your training is going to be with a field trainer actively in the field. Does that make sense? And so as far as your schedule goes, that's set up, the overwhelming majority of your schedule is set up between you and your field trainer when you're going to want to get into the field. Okay, but above and beyond that, our classroom training happens on Tuesday evenings. So Tuesday at 6:45 sharp, we start our corporate overview. That's what you came to last Tuesday. And then after that corporate overview, we do a break, and then we do a short amount of training, 30 to 45 minutes. And then on Friday evenings, we start at 6 o'clock. From 6 to 7, we do a little some food, kind of a meet and greet. And then from 7 to 9, we actually do hands-on in-person classroom training. That's our management development program. And so above and beyond that, like I said, some of the things that we're going to go over, I mean, our training consists of 6-week rotation of beginner level classes, followed by a 6-month rotation of our management level classes. So we're going to go over the fundamentals of our company, our product, you know, the presentation, debt management, really all of the things that we offer. And then above and beyond that, we're going to do Super Saturdays, which are once a month. And then we also do quarterly events, and we'll talk about those as they kind of come up. The most recent and biggest event that's coming up as of now is our convention. That's actually next month in Atlanta, Georgia. That's going to be really incredible. We'll talk about more about that later. But if you have the opportunity and you can get away to go to that, you definitely should. Any questions on our class schedule or anything like that? Okay, perfect. Talked about schedule. And so this is an illustration that I like to go over with everybody to kind of explain how the workflow process works in our business. Okay, and so it's very simple. It's kind of like you work at Sonic right now, correct? Okay, so at Sonic, when you let's say that I started working at Sonic today. Okay, if I started working at Sonic today, how long would I work at Sonic before I got a paycheck?
Depends on the pay period. Sometimes 1 week, sometimes 3 weeks.
So it could be between 1 week and 3 weeks, right? And so, but generally it's 2 weeks, right? If you, as long as you start at the beginning of a pay period, it's 2 weeks. So what happens in that scenario is you start and then you work until the pay period ends, it cycles, and then you get paid, right? Well, it works the same way in Primerica, right? And so the process is we sit down with a client and we go through the presentation, right? It's the simple 4-page presentation, and then we show them a sample F&A, right? And after we go through the sample F&A, we gather their financial information, okay? And we bring it back to the office, we input it into the computer, we spit out the plan, and then we go meet back with them and go over the plan, okay? And offer them our product. That's our process, okay? And so what happens is you put an F&A into the pipeline, right? And you start working this F&A through the pipeline, right? Well, what a lot of people do is they get an F&A in the pipeline and then they try to baby it and follow this single F&A all the way through the pipeline. And then they run over here to the other side and like put their hands out expecting their money, right? It'd be like if I was working at Sonic and I started on Sunday, my first shift was to be Monday, and I worked Monday and Tuesday, and then I didn't work and waited until my paycheck came and wondered why I didn't have a job, right? It would be just like that. And so what we try to get people to understand is that while you're going through training and even beyond, you want to do everything you can to maximize the amount of F&As you're putting in the pipeline, because by doing so, you'll make it so that it continues to spit out money on the other side. Does that make sense? And so, I mean, realistically, Primerica cuts 70 checks a month. So the question is do you just have something in the pipeline when they're going to cut that check? Like as an example, right now, if we were to do life insurance as an example, they would cut a check tonight at midnight, and it would take 3 days for it to process, and the money would be there in 3 days. Now, I don't know how your job works. Well, I do. You just told me about Sonic, right? But it's definitely not like that, right? Awesome. Okay, so any questions about the process, how the pipeline works? Okay, so I mean, my question is, you know, once you're getting started and you're kind of new, it takes about 5 to 10 hours, that process. I mean, how many realistically do you think that you could do a week or a month?
A week, maybe 5.
4 to 5, right? Yeah, absolutely. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the money and the compensation, right? And so as an independent contractor with Primerica, Eli, your income will be determined by the sale of various products marketed by you and the team that we develop for you on behalf of the companies that we represent. Does that make sense? And so we believe in providing needs-based solutions, not in just simply selling products, right? That's really what separates us from the rest of the companies in the industry, is that we really focus on doing the right thing 100% of the time. And so By doing so, right, obviously not all clients are going to need, every product or every mix of products, right? So, but in order to illustrate the earnings, we're going to assume a model F&A is a client, which is basically a family that just buys a typical mix of products. Does that make sense? And so as an agent, if you help a family with a Vivint, which is home security and home automation, starting out, you make 150 or 200, depending on the situation, right? Auto and home insurance. And I want to be clear, auto and home, Vivint, legal protection, and ID theft don't require a license for you to receive compensation on. So any appointments that you go on with your field trainer that those families need any of those products, you actually get the compensation on. Legal protection, which is a will service in Primerica legal protection, you make $50 off of. ID theft, if it's a single person, you make 18. If it's a family, you make 39. And then life insurance, starting out, you make $250 on a typical service, right? But I want to be clear. We talked a little bit about you being in the management development program and how that whole process was set up, right? Well, obviously you don't want to stay as an agent forever, right? And so that kind of the first promotion level to that is a district leader promotion. That's the first step towards our broker level promotion. So you've kind of started to finish a little bit of the training, you're licensed, you've got a little bit of a team starting to develop. That's kind of our district manager position. As a district manager, you see here you make a little bit more for the Vivint, right? It goes up from 150 to 200 to 175 and 250. And then all the way down for term life insurance, the big one, it goes from 250 to 500. So as a district leader, you literally get a double in your pay. Does that make sense? But not, in addition to that, go to the next slide, please, James. We talked about how we're set up a lot like a broker agency, right? And so in a broker agency model, as the broker, right, if you help a family with a $100,000 house, you're on a 6% agreement or you make $6,000, right? You remember when we went through this? Yeah. Perfect. But just like we talked about before, as an agent, if you help the same family with the same $100,000 house, Eli, you're on a 3% agreement or you make $3,000, right? So go back to the last slide real quick, James. You can use the left arrow on the keyboard. Oh. And if you see right here where it says district override, as soon as you qualify for your district level promotion, you begin to get what are called overrides, which is what this broker agent actually split is. And so as a district leader, you make an override of the work that the agents in your team do. Does that make sense? And so that's what this category over here is, as the override. Just on term life insurance as an example, if one of your agents helps a family with a typical product, they make $250, but you make $250. Does that make sense? Any questions on how that comp right there works? Okay, perfect. Go to the next slide, James. Go to the next slide. And so let's just say you had mentioned that you think you could do about 5 appointments a week, right? Now you understand not everybody's going to do business with us, right? I mean, you could be handing out $20 bills on the street. Some people are not going to take it. It's fake. There's no way you're handing out $20 bills. It's fake. It's got to be fake, right? And so the bottom line is that we really take an educational approach. We really do everything we can to not be pushy and not have kind of a sales tactic to it. So obviously not everybody's going to do business with us. But if you're on, as an example, 3 appointments a week as an agent, you're going to get about 1 life client and 1 Vivint client per week. And so in a typical month as an agent, that's 4 life clients and 2 Vivint clients per month. You're going to make about $1,400. Right now, you're part-time, you're still in training, right? $1,400, that's pretty decent, right? Well, as a district leader, which we talked a little bit about that previously, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in your training. As a district leader now, doing that same 3 appointments a week, that same 1 life client and that 1 Vivint client per week, 4 life clients per month, 2 Vivint clients per month, you're going to make $2,500 instead of $1,400. Now, Eli, if the first 30 to 45 days we start working together, I take you from doing 3 appointments a week making $1,400 to 3 appointments a week making $2,500. Are you going to be a little bit excited and a little bit fired up about what you got going on here? And just you'd be ready to quit your job, right? And just knowing that that's the first step on the journey to broker or regional vice president, that's something special, right? Absolutely. And so let's think about it like this, though, right? Because we mentioned that we want you to be a broker. So the key to this is helping you build a team, helping you build a foundation of agents that are out helping families with you, right? And so let's say that you're a district now and you've got a few agents that are helping you. So you just have 3 agents and they're just doing half of the amount of work that you're doing. So on average, each of these 3 agents is seeing 1.5 appointments per week, right? And so in that example, you're still getting 1 life client and 1 Vivint client per week, right? But yeah, that's right. And so in total for you and your team, you're getting 6 life clients per month and you're getting 3 Vivint's per month. That's a total of $4,100 in comp. That's a $50,000 a year income. So do you see how very quickly you can start to achieve those goals and dreams that you and Raquel had talked to me a little bit about, that new house, that boat you guys wanted, right? Those trips overseas, right? Those things can happen a lot quickly once we put in the work to build a foundation and a team. Does that make sense? So any questions on how that compensation works? No? Perfect. So we're going to go to the next slide. And so here at Primerica, our broker level position is what's called a regional vice president, okay? And so that's the ultimate end goal for our management development program, right? We don't want you to be an agent. We don't want you to be a district forever, right? We want to get you, I mean, you're already basically a broker in what you do now. You're just a broker for Sonic without ownership, right? And so all we're doing is translating your current skill set so that you and Raquel can have true ownership with what you're already doing. And so kind of show you a little bit how that looks like. Over the next 12 to 15 months, Eli, Raquel, do you think that you guys could help me find, locate, and train 10 people and help get them licensed? Yeah, of course, right? Over the next 12 to 18 months? Absolutely. Well, think about it like this. Let's say that in that time, you're a broker now. You're not personally helping any family, right? But you're overseeing a team of 10 people, 10 associates they're each helping one family in a month. How many families are you helping in a month? Zero. And how many families is all of your team helping total? 10 in a whole month, right? One each. That's a $15,000 a month income. That's almost $190,000 in income for you. And so the question is what do you really want, right? Because Primerica is designed in such a way that it'll give you what you want. You just have to let me know what it is that you want, right? I mean, you mentioned that you wanted to be a broker, right? And so that's kind of how that works, right? But you don't have to stop there, right? I mean, there are lots of people in Primerica that they run one office, they make $150,000, $180,000 a year, and they're satisfied, right? But you mentioned to me that you wanted more than that, right? And so show you a little bit about how that works, right? Obviously, you build your business through referrals. And so we're incentivized actually to build regional vice presidents once we get to that regional vice president position. And so they actually provide us with company stock, both the promoting RVP and the person that's promoting out both get about $10,000 in Primerica stock for that. And so, whereas in your position, right, you're helping manage a bunch of Sonics, as soon as you get some guys that are competent and are running your system, I bet they take them out and go give them a different Sonic, don't they? Yeah, and that messes you up, right? That messes up your operation, right? Well, here, it's not like that. You actually make more money and are actually incentivized to train those people very well to get them their own broker, their own office. That's special, right? And so lastly, we're going to go through leads, right? Where do we get all these people, right? Everybody always wants to know where all these people come from, right? Well, this is the best thing. We meet here every Monday, right? And I get the phone book out. And your name's Eli, so you start with the E, and you go through and you just call all the E's, right? My name's Travis. I start with the T's, right? No, of course, that's not what we do. No, what we actually do is we go to this neighborhood over here, and we walk around it and knock. No, we don't do any of that. No, you're thinking, what did I sign up for, right? right. No. Yeah, no, we don't do any of that. Some of our competitors do that, but that's just not how we operate. We don't think that's a very successful way to operate a business. But Eli, Raquel, this is the way I looked at it. Okay, when I started Primerica, I looked at it like, man, you're telling me that I can really get double the insurance coverage for half the money. I mean, I can really take my money out of accounts that are earning 1% or less and put them in accounts earning 12, 15 or more. Everybody needs to know this stuff. So what I did is I made a list of everybody that I know, right? Unfortunately, my dad's our regional vice president. He's our broker, so he had already done that, right? But I made a list of everybody that I know, and I encourage everybody else to make a list of people that they know. Because it's like this. If I had the cure for cancer, right, and everyone I knew had cancer, wouldn't I want to give them the cure? Of course, right? Well, it's kind of like everybody has financial cancer, right? Because everybody's broke, right? Everybody's in debt, right? No one knows what they're doing for retirement, right? And this is the cure for financial cancer. And so I look at it like it's our job to just spread the word, right? To tell everybody, right? And we take a really educational approach with the way we do that. And so we work off of a referral-based model, right? And so it's very simple. We qualify these people, right? And a qualified person is they're over the age of 25, right? They're married, they're buying a home or own a home. They have children, and as a family, they make $30,000 or more. And so if a couple has 4 or more of those, they're a typical qualified family, and they're going to be able to want some of the products that we have potentially, right? And so this is the way I look at it, right? Let's say you give me a list of 20 people, right? Understand, again, not all those people are going to sit with us, right? And so of those 20 people that you give me referrals, we're going to sit with about 10 of them. We're going to set appointments with about 10 of them, right? Of those 10 appointments that we set, we're going to do about half of those we're going to complete F&As with. So we're going to complete about 5 F&As, right? And you understand how we don't charge a monetary fee for our financial needs analysis. Remember we talked about that? Well, we do ask that each of our clients be willing to give us 2 really strong commitments, right? The first commitment is, I always say, if they like our approach, right, our low-key kind of educational way that we've conducted ourselves, they'd be willing to give us 10 to 15 qualified referrals, right? We usually get about 8. And then the second commitment is if they, they give us the chance to actually earn their business, right? I mean, if we come back with a plan that's mathematically, better, right, logically, not emotionally, they give us the chance to actually earn that business. And so as long as they're going to keep those 2 commitments, we're going to play our role and do what we need to do. And so like I said, we ask for 10 to 15 referrals. We usually get about 8. And so of those 5 people that we completed F&As with, we get about 8 referrals from. So now we turn your list of 20 into 40 referrals, right? And again, about half of those people are going to set appointments with us, right? We're going to do about half of those F&As, right? We're going to ask for 10 to 15 referrals. We're going to get about 8. So now we got 80 referrals there, right? But something happens. Of those 10 appointments that we sit on, a certain number of them are like, they hate their job, they don't like where they're at, right? And they're like, you're telling me that I can be put in a position where you're going to train me how to make $1,200, $1,500, $1,800, $2,100 a month part-time, allow me to transition into a full-time career where I can make $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. A certain percentage of those people are going to be like, I'm in, right? And so of those people, you're going to get about 3 new associates in your team. And again, we're going to ask each of those new associates for a list of 20, right? So of that list of 20, we're going to get about 60 referrals. We're going to sit appointments with about half of those. So we got 30 set appointments. We're going to get about 9 new associates again out of that block of 30, get 20 new referrals out of each of those. Now we have 180 referrals over here and 80 referrals over here. We got 270 referrals. The problem, Eli, Raquel, isn't that we don't have enough people to go see. It's that we don't have enough competent, qualified, and trained people to go see all of the people that need our help. That's really where we're at. Does that make sense? So any questions about how any of that works? None? Okay, perfect. And so lastly, what is your next step? And so from here, do you have any questions for me, Eli, Raquel, about anything that we've went over today? None at all? Okay, perfect. And so how are you feeling about, working with our company? Are you excited about it? Are you, looking forward to getting started, or you're already hating your job? Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to do everything I can, Eli. I'm going to commit to you that if you'll commit to doing everything that you need to do, I'll commit to doing everything I can to help you get out of your job. Does that sound fair? Okay, perfect. And so what is your next step? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to complete your independent business application. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes to answer some questions on the computer. Standard stuff. You don't have any felonies, stuff like that, right? And then we'll submit it with that 124 so that they can go ahead and pull that background check and get started. And then we'll go ahead and schedule your class, schedule your game plan with your field trainer, which is the next step. And then following that, you need to attend the next corporate overview and the next training that we talked about on the training page. And then obviously we can schedule a time to get back together to answer any questions if you guys aren't ready to submit that application now. So are you ready now, or do you want to schedule a time to get back together? All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and get it filled out now.
Great, give him a hand.
Yeah, you can turn the recording off. Okay.